The first indication that something was wrong wasn't an alarm. It was silence. Commander Adrian Holt had spent nearly 19 years serving aboard the Deep Space Observatory Aegis Watch, a station positioned far beyond Neptune, where humanity kept its most sensitive telescopes aimed toward interstellar space. Most shifts passed without excitement. They cataloged wandering comets, mapped distant pulsars, and occasionally watched ancient stars die from millions of light-years away. Nothing had ever approached them. Until that morning. Adrian frowned at the main display. Every sensor pointed toward Sector 912. Nothing appeared on the screen. That was the problem. "Run the scan again," he said. Lieutenant Sofia Reyes tapped rapidly across her console. "I already have." Again. The room remained quiet except for the gentle hum of computers processing impossible amounts of information. Before we continue, if you are a lover of HFY and sci-fi stories, do well to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more interesting stories. Several seconds later, she looked up. Same result. Navigator Liam Brooks leaned forward. "What exactly are we looking at?" "I don't know." Adrian crossed the bridge. The display showed a perfect circle nearly 800 kilometers wide. Inside that circle, nothing existed. No stars, no radiation, no background energy. It was as though someone had carefully cut a hole through the universe. "Sensor malfunction?" Liam asked hopefully. Sophia shook her head. "I've checked every array independently. They all agree." Astronomer Hannah Okoye quietly spoke from the rear of the room. "The stars aren't gone. They're blocked." Adrian turned. "Blocked by what?" She enlarged the image. Something incredibly large. Before anyone could answer, every screen aboard Aegis Watch flickered. The station lights dimmed. Power briefly dropped before emergency batteries restored full output. No alarms sounded. Instead, a single sentence appeared on every monitor. "We apologize for the interruption." Nobody moved. The message vanished. Another replaced it. "This conversation has been scheduled for a very long time." Liam slowly whispered. "What?" The final message appeared. "Please do not fire upon the messenger." Then every display returned to normal. Adrian looked toward Sophia. "Tell me that wasn't someone hacking us." She swallowed. "I can't." At that exact moment, the darkness inside the circular void shimmered. Something emerged. Not through hyperspace, not from warp. It simply unfolded. Imagine watching a folded sheet of paper opening itself. That was the closest comparison Adrian could think of. The object expanded silently until it stretched across nearly 300 kilometers. Its surface resembled polished stone covered in flowing silver rivers that shifted continuously without ever changing shape. There were no engines, no visible weapons, no bridge, no windows. Nothing suggested it had been built. It looked grown. The station's computers struggled to classify it. Unknown. 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 Commander Adrian finally exhaled. First contact. Nobody celebrated. Nobody smiled. History had arrived without asking permission. Earth answered within 4 minutes. Every military channel activated simultaneously. General Evelyn Shaw appeared on the central display. She wasted no time. "Commander Holt, we've received identical transmissions from every deep space observatory. So whatever you're seeing, we're seeing." Adrian nodded. "It hasn't acted aggressively. It hasn't acted at all." General Shaw studied the incoming telemetry. "Maintain observation. No communication unless they initiate." "What about weapons?" "If they fire." She paused. "There won't be much your station can do." The honesty somehow made Adrian trust her more. "Understood." The connection ended. Liam rubbed both hands through his hair. "I always imagined first contact would involve speeches. Or music. Or at least someone saying hello." Hannah smiled faintly. "Maybe they already did." She pointed toward the first message. "We apologize for the interruption." They were polite. Sophia laughed unexpectedly. We're judging alien etiquette now? It's something to do. The laughter spread. Short, nervous, human. Adrian let it happen. Fear needed somewhere to escape. 6 hours later, the alien vessel remained perfectly still. No transmissions. No movement. Then something unexpected happened. Thousands of tiny lights separated from its hull. Not fighters. Not drones. Seeds. Each object drifted slowly through space. Sensors followed them automatically. None accelerated. None emitted radiation. They simply floated away in every direction. Liam frowned. What are they doing? Hannah enlarged one image. It's planting something. Planting. Look. The seed reached empty space. Then unfolded. Thin crystalline branches spread outward. Within minutes, a structure nearly 5 kilometers wide had formed. Another seed repeated the process. Then another. Soon hundreds of crystal frameworks floated peacefully throughout the outer solar system. Sophia's voice dropped. They're building. But what? No answer came. On Earth, governments debated. Scientists argued. Military commanders prepared. Public reaction surprised everyone. There was fear. Of course there was. But there was also overwhelming curiosity. Schools canceled classes so children could watch official broadcasts. Churches filled. Universities stayed open around the clock. Artists painted. Writers wrote. Musicians composed. Humanity had spent centuries imagining they weren't alone. Now imagination had become reality. 3 more hours passed. Finally, the alien vessel transmitted. This time only one language. Perfect English. People of Earth. The voice sounded warm. Almost musical. We are the archivists. We travel between young civilizations. We preserve knowledge before it is lost. Adrian blinked. That wasn't what anyone expected. The voice continued. Your species has entered a dangerous century. Our records indicate an 83% probability of self-destruction within 200 of your years. Silence covered the bridge. We have come to offer assistance. Liam whispered. That's it. No invasion? No ultimatum? The transmission wasn't finished. There is, however, a complication. Every person aboard Aegis Watch leaned forward. We are not the first civilization to arrive. Adrian's stomach tightened. What does that mean? The answer arrived immediately. For 17 of your years, another species has been traveling toward your world. The bridge became perfectly silent. A new image appeared. It showed an enormous fleet unlike the graceful archivist vessel. Jagged, dark, covered in heavy armor. Thousands of ships. Estimated arrival, 23 days. The musical voice spoke again. They do not preserve civilizations. They consume them. Adrian looked at the impossible fleet. Then back toward the peaceful ship floating outside. History hadn't simply knocked on humanity's door. It had arrived carrying a warning. And somewhere between the stars, an enemy was already coming. The silence after the archivist's warning lasted less than 30 seconds. Then the entire solar system came alive. Every secure military network lit up with emergency traffic. Civilian observatories redirected their telescopes toward the edge of interstellar space. Research stations abandoned routine experiments to analyze the data the archivists had transmitted. News networks interrupted every broadcast, and for the first time in human history, every nation was watching the same story unfold at the same moment. Commander Adrian Holt remained on the bridge of Aegis Watch, staring at the holographic projection of the approaching fleet. It stretched across the display like a moving continent. Thousands of vessels, some dwarfed aircraft carriers. Others resembled spearheads of black metal hundreds of meters long. Together they formed an armada unlike anything humanity had imagined. Lieutenant Sophia Reyes quietly broke the silence. Can our sensors confirm this? Adrian nodded. They're still too far away to detect directly. But the archivists transmitted raw astronomical data. Our scientists are already verifying it. Minutes later, another transmission arrived from Earth. General Evelyn Shaw appeared once again, although this time several civilian scientists stood behind her. Her expression remained composed. Our observatories confirm the gravitational distortions. She paused before continuing. The fleet exists. No one spoke. The words carried enough weight on their own. Over the next 2 days, humanity changed. Not through panic. Through purpose. Factories that once produced commercial spacecraft began manufacturing military components around the clock. Universities formed research alliances with defense laboratories. Private technology companies voluntarily released patented innovations for public use. Even rival governments opened classified databases to one another. Old political arguments suddenly felt very small. The threat was no longer national. It was planetary. On Aegis Watch, Adrian watched countless cargo vessels passing through nearby space. Some carried food. Others transported construction materials. Several hauled enormous superconductors toward orbital shipyards. Liam Brooks leaned back in his chair. "I've never seen Earth cooperate like this." Sophia smiled. "Apparently the fastest way to unite humanity is to give everyone the same problem." Meanwhile, the archivists remained. Their immense vessel never moved closer to Earth. Instead, the strange crystalline structures they had planted throughout the solar system continued to grow. Within days, each crystal tower stretched nearly 20 kilometers across. Yet none emitted weapons fire. Instead, they began collecting information. Solar radiation, magnetic fields, particle streams. Hannah Okoye spent nearly 18 hours studying them before reaching a conclusion. "They're not military installations." Adrian looked up. "What are they?" "Giant scientific instruments." She enlarged one of the structures. "They're mapping our entire solar system in extraordinary detail." "But why?" Before Hannah could answer, the archivists themselves responded. A calm voice echoed through the station. "You preserve information by recording it. We preserve information by understanding it." Days passed. The distance separating the hostile fleet from Earth continued shrinking. 21 days. 20. 19. Every sunrise brought the enemy closer. Yet something strange happened. The archivists never offered humanity advanced weapons. Never shared impossible technology. Never promised miraculous victory. Finally, Adrian asked them directly, "If you possess technology beyond ours, why not simply help us build stronger ships?" Several seconds passed before the answer came. "Strength borrowed is strength that disappears." The gentle voice continued, "If we solve every problem for you, your civilization never learns to solve the next one." Adrian considered that. It wasn't the answer he wanted, but perhaps it was the answer humanity needed. The following morning brought another surprise. A small object detached itself from the archivist vessel. Unlike the enormous mothership, this craft measured barely 30 meters across. It approached Aegis Watch slowly. No weapons, no shields, no escorts. General Shaw immediately contacted the station. "Commander, we're detecting the shuttle." "We are. Any hostile activity?" "None. Proceed carefully." The tiny craft stopped precisely 1 kilometer away. A doorway appeared along its smooth surface. Someone stepped out. Not in a spacesuit. Simply walking through empty space as though gravity itself obeyed different rules. The figure resembled a human in general shape. Tall. Slender. Its skin shimmered like polished silver, reflecting starlight in constantly shifting patterns. Large dark eyes studied the station with obvious curiosity. It raised one hand. Not a weapon. A greeting. Adrian felt history holding its breath. Several hours later, after every imaginable safety precaution had been completed, the visitor entered Aegis Watch. The entire crew gathered inside the observation chamber. The alien looked around slowly. Every movement carried quiet fascination. Its eyes lingered on photographs taped beside workstations. Coffee mugs, Handwritten notes, family pictures, simple human things. Finally it spoke. My designation cannot be pronounced using your language. It is acceptable to call me Lyran. His English sounded remarkably natural. Adrian extended his hand. I'm Commander Adrian Holt. Lyran studied the gesture, then carefully copied it. Their hands met. The alien tilted its head. A traditional greeting? Adrian smiled. Usually. Lyran looked genuinely pleased. I enjoy learning traditions. The tension inside the room eased almost instantly. For the next several hours, questions flowed endlessly. The crew wanted to know everything. Where had the archivists come from? How old was their civilization? Had they met other intelligent species? Lyran answered patiently. Our civilization began approximately 100,000 of your years ago. Several jaws dropped. We no longer measure success by territory. We measure success by civilizations preserved. Sophia leaned forward. And the fleet approaching Earth? Lyran's expression changed. For the first time, sadness crossed its face. They call themselves the Dominion. They believe knowledge belongs only to the strongest. They erase cultures. They destroy history. They replace diversity with obedience. Liam quietly asked, Have they defeated you before? Lyran looked toward the stars beyond the observation window. Many times. The answer stunned everyone. You lost. We survived. There is a difference. That evening, Lyran requested permission to walk through the station. No security escort. No restrictions. Just curiosity. Crew members watched with amusement as the alien examined everything. It became fascinated by chess, confused by vending machines, completely captivated by coffee. After cautiously tasting a single sip, Lyran's eyes widened. Your species voluntarily consumes this? Sophia laughed. Several billion people do. It is extraordinarily bitter. We know. Then why continue? Adrian grinned. Because mornings exist. For several seconds Lyran simply stared. Then, unexpectedly, the alien laughed. A soft musical sound unlike any human voice. It spread through the room. Soon everyone else was laughing too. For a brief moment, the approaching war felt impossibly far away. The peace ended the following day. Warning alarms erupted throughout Aegis Watch. Hannah's voice cut sharply across the bridge. Unknown contact. Not the Dominion. Something else. A new object had appeared near one of the crystal observatories. Small, fast. Stealth technology concealed most of its structure. Yet one thing remained unmistakable. It was watching. Lyran's expression darkened immediately. It should not be here. Adrian looked toward the alien. What is it? A hunter. One of the Dominion's reconnaissance vessels. General Shaw's voice burst across the communication network. Can it report our position? Lyran answered without hesitation. Yes. Then we've already lost the advantage of surprise. The tiny black craft suddenly accelerated. Not toward Earth. Away from it. Straight back into interstellar darkness. Liam stared at the rapidly disappearing signal. It's leaving. Lyran nodded solemnly. It has seen enough. Adrian folded his arms. So now they know we're preparing. They know something more important. What? Lyran looked around the bridge at the human crew. They know. The archivists chose to stand beside humanity. No one needed to explain what that meant. The coming battle would no longer be against Earth alone. It would decide whether two civilizations could stand together against an empire that had spent centuries believing no one would dare resist it. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, the Dominion had just learned that humanity had found its first ally. The warning reached Earth 12 hours later. The Dominion scout had vanished into interstellar space, but no one believed it had simply retreated. It had accomplished its mission. Somewhere beyond the edge of the solar system, an empire now knew exactly where humanity lived, how far its technology had progressed, and Perhaps most importantly, that the mysterious archivists had chosen to stand beside them. General Evelyn Shaw called an emergency summit unlike any in history. Every nation on Earth participated. Every colony on Mars, Luna, Europa, Titan, and the asteroid settlements joined the meeting. This time, there were no debates over territory or politics. Only one question mattered. How do we survive? The archivists attended the meeting as observers. Lyran stood quietly near the center of the circular conference chamber aboard Earth's orbital command station. For nearly 2 hours, military leaders discussed fleet formations, supply chains, and evacuation plans. Scientists argued over energy production. Engineers proposed impossible construction schedules. Then an elderly historian named Professor Elias Morgan raised his hand. The room became quiet. "I have a question for our guests." General Shaw nodded. "Go ahead." Professor Morgan looked toward Lyran. "You've encountered the Dominion before. How many civilizations have resisted them?" Lyran remained silent for several seconds, then answered honestly, "Many." "And how many survived?" "Very few." The room grew noticeably heavier. "But," Lyran continued, "every civilization that survived shared one quality." General Shaw leaned forward. "What quality?" "They refused to become predictable." That answer puzzled everyone. Commander Adrian Holt frowned. "Predictable?" Lyran nodded. "The Dominion has conquered thousands of worlds. They possess more advanced weapons than nearly every civilization they encounter. They calculate probabilities continuously. They expect logical responses." Professor Morgan smiled slightly. "And humans rarely behave logically." Lyran tilted its head. "That observation has already appeared several times in my reports." Soft laughter spread around the room. The tension eased. Only slightly. Over the next week, Earth's strategy changed completely. Instead of trying to build larger battleships, humanity focused on flexibility. Commercial freighters became supply ships. Passenger liners transformed into evacuation vessels. Mining drones were redesigned into autonomous repair units. Thousands of small factories across the solar system manufactured replacement parts rather than massive warships. Adrian watched the transformation from Aegis Watch. "It doesn't look like we're preparing for war." Lyran stood beside him, studying the streams of traffic crossing nearby space. "No. It appears your species is preparing to endure one." The archivists finally offered something humanity had not expected. Not weapons. Knowledge. Inside one of the crystal observatories, Lyran revealed an enormous holographic archive. It contained records from hundreds of civilizations, languages, engineering principles, agricultural techniques, medical discoveries, architectural designs, musical traditions, works of art. Adrian stared in amazement. "This is incredible." Lyran smiled. "The Dominion destroys cultures. We preserve them." Professor Morgan spent hours exploring the archive. Then he noticed something unusual. Many civilizations had vanished. Yet their music still existed. Their stories survived. Their achievements had not been forgotten. Humanity suddenly understood why these beings called themselves archivists. They believed memory itself was worth protecting. 10 days before the Dominion's arrival, Earth received an unexpected visitor. Not from another star. From its own past. An ancient exploration vessel named Odyssey emerged from deep space after nearly 30 years beyond the solar system. It had been launched long before faster-than-light travel existed. Its crew knew nothing about the coming war. When Captain Naomi Chun stepped onto Earth's orbital station, she expected a routine welcome home. Instead, she found fleets under construction and alien diplomats walking the corridors. She laughed in disbelief. "I leave for 30 years. And you people meet extraterrestrials." General Shaw smiled. "You missed quite a week." Captain Chen insisted on returning to service immediately. Many retired astronauts followed her example. Age no longer mattered. Experience did. On the 8th day, long-range sensors detected the first signs of the Dominion. Not ships. Gravity waves. Thousands of them. Approaching steadily. Humanity now had proof. The invasion was no longer theoretical. It was coming. Life continued despite the countdown. Children still attended school. Families still gathered for meals. Musicians performed concerts. Hospitals treated patients. Markets remained open. The world refused to stop living simply because danger approached. Lyran noticed this. You continue ordinary routines. Adrian nodded. We have to. Why? Because if fear changes everything before the enemy arrives, then we've already surrendered. The archivist quietly recorded the answer. 3 days before contact, Lyran requested permission to visit Earth. Not government buildings. Not military headquarters. Public park. General Shaw approved the request. Disguised beneath a simple environmental cloak, Lyran walked among ordinary people. Children chased birds. Street musicians played guitars. Vendors sold food. Artists painted landscapes. Nobody knew an alien stood among them. Later that evening, Lyran spoke privately with Adrian. I understand something now. What? The Dominion believes civilizations are defined by armies. It appears humanity is defined by people. Adrian smiled. We've spent thousands of years disagreeing with each other. But when someone threatens everyone, we usually remember we're on the same team. The following morning, alarms echoed across every station in the solar system. Hannah's voice came through the communications network. They've arrived. Every telescope focused toward interstellar space. Countless pinpoints of light emerged from darkness. 1 became 10. 10 became hundreds. Hundreds became thousands. The Dominion fleet entered the solar system with terrifying precision. Unlike the graceful archivist vessel, every Dominion ship looked designed for one purpose: war. Rows of angular cruisers surrounded gigantic command carriers. Escort vessels moved in perfect geometric formations. No movement appeared wasted. No ship drifted even a meter from its assigned position. General Shaw studied the tactical display. They're magnificent. Captain Naomi Chen quietly answered. They're terrifying. Both statements were true. Then something unexpected happened. The Dominion did not attack. Instead, one enormous flagship moved ahead of the fleet. A transmission arrived. Its voice carried absolute confidence. People of Earth, you have chosen poorly. We acknowledge the presence of the archivists. They cannot protect you. The message paused. Our conflict is not with your species. It is with those who interfere in the natural order. Lyran stepped beside Adrian. They're lying. Why? They always begin this way. The Dominion continued. Surrender the archivists. Your civilization will be permitted limited autonomy. Refuse, and your world will become an example. General Shaw answered immediately. Her voice reached every human ship, every colony, every city, every Dominion vessel. Earth has heard your proposal. She paused only briefly. Our answer is no. Silence followed. Not fear. Certainty. Then the Dominion flagship transmitted one final sentence. So be it. Across the tactical display, thousands of enemy ships accelerated simultaneously. The war humanity had spent weeks preparing for had finally begun. And standing together, humans and archivists moved to meet it, knowing that the next few hours would decide not only the fate of Earth, but whether hope itself could survive among the stars. The first shot never came. For nearly 30 seconds, two great fleets faced one another across the darkness of space. The Dominion advanced in flawless formation, every vessel maintaining exact distance from its neighbors as though the entire armada shared a single mind. Opposite them, the human fleet stretched across the inner solar system in a formation that looked almost chaotic. Mining ships floated beside destroyers. Research vessels stood next to heavily armed cruisers. Civilian rescue craft waited behind defensive lines, ready to recover survivors. To Dominion commanders, it probably looked disorganized. Commander Adrian Holt smiled faintly as he watched the tactical display aboard Aegis Watch. They still don't understand us. Lyran stood beside him. No. They believe order always defeats improvisation. General Evelyn Shaw's voice echoed across every human communication channel. All vessels. Remember why we're here. We're not fighting for victory alone. We're fighting for every generation that comes after us. Stand your ground. Thousands of acknowledgements answered at once. Without warning, the Dominion flagship released a brilliant pulse of crimson light. The battle had begun. Hundreds of energy lances streaked toward the outer defensive line. Human ships scattered immediately, not according to a perfect plan. According to instinct, the Dominion targeting computers had predicted orderly evasive maneuvers. Instead, they found pilots making impossible turns, breaking formation, doubling back, and crossing one another's paths in ways that looked reckless. Several Dominion shots struck empty space. Captain Naomi Chin laughed over the fleet channel. They're trying to predict us. Good luck with that. Moments later, Earth answered. Railguns thundered. Missiles erupted from converted cargo ships. Dozens of small attack craft darted through the battlefield like schools of fish, constantly changing direction. The Dominion fleet hesitated. Only briefly, but for the first time in centuries, it hesitated. The fighting spread across millions of kilometers. Unlike previous wars fought by humanity, this battle wasn't about holding a single position. Every asteroid became cover. Every moon became a supply point. Repair drones raced through the battlefield, patching damaged ships before they could withdraw. Civilian engineers aboard orbital stations worked continuously, transmitting software updates directly into combat vessels. No one fought alone. On Aegis Watch, Sophia Reyes coordinated communications between hundreds of ships. Medical Convoy Delta is requesting escort. Done. Destroyer Resolute reports reactor damage. Redirect repair drones. Hannah, I need updated enemy positions. I'm already sending them. The station had become the nervous system of humanity's defense. Then something unexpected happened. A Dominion cruiser disabled a human frigate near Jupiter. Instead of destroying it, the cruiser stopped. Its commander transmitted a message. Surrender. The damaged frigate answered with laughter. Not mocking. Genuine laughter. Its captain replied calmly, "We'd rather fix the ship." Before the Dominion commander understood the response, 6 tiny maintenance drones emerged from nearby debris. Within minutes, the frigate's engines restarted. The vessel accelerated away while firing another railgun salvo. Lyran quietly watched the exchange. I finally understand. Adrian looked over. Understand what? The Dominion studies technology. Humanity studies one another. Hours passed. Losses mounted on ships burned. Rescue crews risked their lives pulling survivors from shattered hulls. No one celebrated destruction. Every casualty weighed heavily. General Shaw personally ordered multiple rescue missions into active combat zones. We leave no one behind. Those words spread quickly across every channel. Even wounded crews repeated them. Meanwhile, deep inside the Dominion flagship, its supreme strategist reviewed the battle with growing disbelief. Report. An officer bowed. Human fleet efficiency continues increasing. Why? They adapt faster than our predictive models. Update the models. We have. They change again. The strategist stared silently at the display. Human vessels constantly exchanged information. Every mistake became a lesson within seconds. Every success spread across the fleet almost instantly. The Dominion had mastered perfect discipline. Humanity had mastered continuous learning. For the first time, perfection was struggling against adaptability. Suddenly, alarms sounded aboard the archivist vessel. Lyran's expression changed. Commander! Adrian looked up. What is it? The Dominion isn't trying to defeat our fleet. They're targeting the crystal observatories. The realization struck immediately. The observatories contained the greatest archive of preserved civilizations ever assembled. If destroyed, millions of years of history would disappear forever. General Shaw didn't hesitate. All nearby vessels. Protect the observatories. Several admirals objected. We'll weaken the front line. I know. They're only databases. Lyran quietly interrupted. They contain the final memories of civilizations that no longer exist. The bridge fell silent. General Shaw nodded. Then they're worth defending. Without another word, dozens of human ships changed course. Not because it was strategically perfect, because preserving knowledge mattered. The Dominion assault reached the nearest crystal structure. Energy cannons illuminated the darkness. Fragments of crystal drifted away. Before another volley could strike, Captain Naomi Chen's aging exploration ship, Odyssey, accelerated directly between the observatory and the incoming fire. Her ship absorbed the blast. Warning alarms filled every human channel. "Captain!" Adrian shouted. Naomi smiled through the transmission. "I've had 30 extra years. These records deserve a few more minutes." Her damaged engines roared one final time as Odyssey rammed the Dominion cruiser. The collision shattered both vessels. Silence followed. Then one by one, human ships saluted. No words were necessary. Something changed inside the Dominion fleet. Its commanders had witnessed thousands of wars across countless star systems. They had seen soldiers fight for territory, for resources, for power. Never for strangers long gone. The supreme strategist finally addressed the archivists directly. Why would they sacrifice themselves for civilizations they never knew? Lyran answered calmly. Because humanity understands something your empire forgot. And what is that? A future without memory. Has no future at all. For several long minutes, no shots were fired. Then, unexpectedly, Dominion vessels began powering down their weapons. One after another. Across the battlefield. Confusion spread through every human fleet. General Shaw refused to lower Earth's defenses. Maintain readiness. No one fires unless fired upon. The Dominion flagship opened a final communication. Its once confident voice sounded different. "We have conquered worlds for nearly 4,000 years. We believed strength alone preserved civilization. It does not." Pause followed. "Today, your species has defeated something greater than our fleet. You defeated our certainty." The enormous flagship slowly turned away from Earth. One by one, thousands of Dominion vessels followed. No surrender ceremony. No treaty forced at gunpoint. Only a decision. To leave. Weeks later, representatives from the Dominion returned. This time unarmed. Negotiations lasted nearly a month. Instead of demanding obedience, they proposed cooperation. Instead of conquest, they requested cultural exchange. The archivists remained as witnesses. History recorded the agreement as the Accord of Three Civilizations. Earth remained completely independent. The archivists continued their mission of preserving knowledge. The Dominion abandoned its doctrine of conquest, beginning the slow process of becoming explorers instead of conquerors. It would take generations. But every journey begins somewhere. Months later, Commander Adrian Holt stood once again on the observation deck of Aegis Watch. The stars looked peaceful. Lyran joined him quietly. "You've become part of our archive." Adrian smiled. "I hope that's a good thing." "It is." "What will your records say about humanity?" Lyran looked toward the blue world shining faintly in the distance. "That they were not the strongest. They were not the oldest. They possessed neither the greatest fleet nor the finest technology." Adrian chuckled. "Sounds about right." Lyran continued. "But when history asked them who they wished to become, they answered with courage instead of fear. Far beyond the solar system, 3 fleets traveled different paths beneath the same stars. One preserved knowledge. One sought redemption. One simply called Earth home. Humanity had not become legendary because it conquered the galaxy. It became legendary because, When faced with overwhelming power, it chose compassion over hatred, unity over division, and hope over surrender. And among the countless civilizations that would one day read the archivist's records, one sentence appeared more often than any other. If you wish to understand courage, study the humans.